Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Monday night, and of course, it's the live lounge here at Online Darts. I'm Phill Bars, joined by Jack Gobby Garwood and Jarleth Theaton. Gentlemen, good evening.
Hi, boys.
Hi, you lovers. You're right. Great to be back. And again, and once again, sponsored by my live lounge Monday is fueled by Fanta Zero. If Fanta Zero wants to sponsor us right now, that'd be lovely. Other orange soft drinks are available.
Seamless plugs.
No. No, thank you.
How are we, everybody? Lovely to see the chat room already as busy as ever on a Monday. Nice to be back after my internet being knocked out for 24 hours during last week. Big shout out to Lee for covering for me as always. I can't lie to you. I was very much already in bed by that point, by about 8:15 last. I was like, well, I can't really do much else. I can't watch the show and I can't involve with it. So I was like, right, okay, I'll just go and sit in bed and go to bed. So nice to be back though. Lovely to be here.
100%. It's been a busy few days, shall we say?
Especially for the PDC with what they announced today.
Another thing is, every time we get to one of these shows, we think, oh, we've got a couple of Pro Tours to talk about, or the Super Series as it is. We're like, oh yeah, we're struggling. Well, what are we going to talk about? And then bang, 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 a couple of people open their mouths wider than I do, and all of a sudden we've got an entire show lined up for you.
What happens?
My God, I feel terrible.
What happens?
My God, I feel terrible. I feel terrible living your red rent free.
We all know where we're going with this shortly, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on. And if you like our content, give us a thumbs up, because there's plenty coming up over the next few weeks. That is for sure. With all the interviews, the Premier League returns, and of course the live league every day as well. It's all good, but all the usual suspects are in the chat room. Kieran, Jonathan, Reese, Andrew, Enigmatic Joker, how you're doing? Winita's in, Missy Mad, there's loads of you in. Ollie, Max, Sean, all welcome along to this week's live lounge. So we'll start at the beginning, gents. We'll start at the beginning. The Super Series.
Very good place to start.
4 days of Pro Tour action was back, and it didn't disappoint.
No, it didn't. Sorry, I'm just trying to retweet and let everybody know we're live. No, it didn't. It was an interesting 4 days, actually. I don't think it quite went the way we expected it to. Well,
stuff.
That was me, don't worry.
Let's see. This show's as professional as ever.
That's what we do.
I think after the first Super Series, we perhaps saw this one going a little bit differently than it actually turned out. But I guess that's the beauty in the Pro Tours and the floor events, that sometimes they are quite open. People that carry good form don't get the results perhaps they deserve, and that's sport, isn't it? So, yeah, it was an interesting 4 days. I think we picked a couple of winners outright between us, but in a field that big, that open, it's incredibly difficult to keep doing.
Yeah, 100%. It's difficult to keep doing. But first of all, before we dive in, someone just asked, is Barry Bates okay? Yes, he is. His arthritis played up a little bit towards the end of the day, but he's had some painkillers and he's good. So don't panic, ladies and gentlemen, about champagne. He's all good. So we'll start at the beginning, and no, get the right one up. We'll get there in the end.
That's what she said.
Day one winner. Yeah. Day one winner was the history maker and someone that had a very good 4 days when you put it all together. But he did win a title on day one, and the new speed merchant Gob is going about his business rather well.
Deservedly so as well. He was absolutely brilliant over the 4 days in total. The day he won it, he was rock solid. The new pace just allows him that. He went in search of rhythm, and that's his own words. That's why he upped the pace. And I just think when all 3 darts are one action rather than 3 separate actions, there's a lot less to go wrong. There's a lot less to set up, and it's difficult to explain. But when it's all one motion, which effectively his throw is now, there's no stopping, no pausing in between. Less thinking time about what can go wrong, and it's all one action. It's just so much easier to keep smooth, keep solid, and not make any mistakes on. He's a player that's done this on the floor before. You can look back over the last decade, and Brendan Dolan has virtually been in the winner's circle in the majority of those years. It's just, can he translate it up onto the big stage now? But like I said, a fantastic 4 days for him, a solid start, and the new pace seems to be working for him.
Yeah, he was a danger throughout the whole thing, Jar, which was good.
Yeah, he was very good, and like let's have it right when we say this, that even throughout the entire series, like he played well. He made the semi-finals the next day. What did he do after that? I think he made a quarter-final on the Thursday, if memory serves me correctly. I'm just going to have a quick look now at him. Who I know, sorry, made a top. Jessica beat him on the Thursday, but I think he did a little bit on the Friday, if memory serves me correctly. Although of course that was overshadowed, which I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit later. But he looked like he was in really good form. Is the Dolan, and like, we haven't seen him in this vein of form since, arguably since he won those 2 titles in 2019. But even before then, there was a gap, and with the pace, look, as I've always said, pace works in darts. It always does. As a wider thing, that's a wider debate that we can have. But no, Dolan looked good, and he Dolanized a lot of the field. He made 2 semi-finals. He won a tournament, and then fair enough, he went off on the Thursday, but he still did bits, and Dolanized his back. Who knows? Can he make a little bit of a run? Can he? I don't know.
The chopper.
Please. We all love the chopper. And he's only he's at the moment in time, he's 14 grand away from being a seed again in the World Championship. That would be something sensational. And actually, as things stand, he's 29th seed going into the World Championships, which would be a huge boost for him because he automatically gets round to round 2 that way.
Oh yeah, 100% is the thing. And look, the form he's shown, he's going to go deep in TV titles as well. So that will soon rise up.
And he's also qualified for what? He's also qualified in the moment for the match play. He's in that spot. He's already got 30 grand on the race to Blackpool, so he'll be there. In the race for for the Grand Prix, he's top of the order merit at the moment, 26 grand on there, so he's there for that. Dolan will be that player that no one wants to play unless Clayton still ends up as a non-seed, which I don't think is going to happen. But the one seed at the moment that you would not want to play is Brendan Dolan. Simple as.
No, 100%. Thank you very much, NJ Darts. The chat room absolutely alive again. And we're only on day 1 of the Super Series. Keep them coming in the chat room, guys. Remember, hit that like button as well. But from day 1, we go seamlessly to day 2, and it is the world number 1 and world champion Gerwen Price's first title since January the 3rd when he was crowned world champion. And considering the night before on his Instagram, he was demotivated, didn't want to be there, rocks up on day 2 and plays some absolute stunning stuff, Gob.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest surprise to me. I backed him to win one before the event, but after day one, I was quite concerned. I was like, if he sat there in a hotel room, doesn't really want to be there, can't really be bothered, is putting things like that on his Instagram and hadn't really had the performances to back it up. His first Super Series, he pulled out after day two. He was ill. Masters, not the best for him. I was quite concerned for Gezi, but that is a massive win, along with the 2 days that followed as well, actually. Solid runs, beaten by very, very good performances when he was beaten. That's a massive, massive boost for him heading into the Premier League, which traditionally has been a very, very poor hunting ground for him.
Well, like, he had a great day.
Whilst the rest of the field are playing like they are, he now goes in as like third or fourth in the form rankings easily. Whereas before that, you were talking about 6th or 7th.
Yeah, but you can't. I'm sorry. Like, as long, no disrespect to Barstow, but there's a difference between Chaz Barstow and the world number one. The world number one should not be getting beat 6-2 by Chaz Barstow. Sorry, it just shouldn't be happening. And look, he played some great.
Pro Tours are different.
Not at all. I'm not saying that players can't get beat on the. No, I'm not saying that people cannot get beaten on the Pro Tour. Of course, anything can happen on the Pro Tour, but 99 times out of 100, a player without a tour card does not beat the world number one. Now, that to me is something there for Gezi, whether he's trying to manage his schedule a little bit. I don't know, because obviously there's no Euro Tour at this moment in time. But yeah, and yes, he won this event on Player 6, and then obviously made the final on PC8. And it's decent form for him, like, as you say, going into the Premier League. But I'm still a little bit worried about him. I still worry whether he is properly motivated to go in and do things on the telly like we can see that we can do, because he just hasn't looked the same since he won the World Championship. And, it happens. You've reached your pinnacle in life as a darts player. You've won the biggest tournament there is. But now you have to... The reason why Phill Taylor and Michael Van Gerwen... Yes, Van Gerwen has ever retained the World Championship, and that's fine. But the reason why them two are the top two that has ever played the sport is because they sustained greatness. Lewis had a great spell for 2 years. Gary had a couple, 2 or 3 years, which is why he's up there. Gezi he's got the ability to go and retain this World Championship and do bits as well and win any tournament that he wants to and plays at, because he is, for me, among the top 3 most talented in the field. Let's see if he can do that. Let's see, to Gob's point, let's see him qualify for the top 4 of the Premier League for the first time. Let's see him absolutely demolish the field. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
I agree with Gob. I think going into the Super Series, there was huge questions around the Premier League 10. And Gezi was one of them. But I agree. I think he's answered a lot of those questions already. And we'll touch on the environment.
The manner of the way that he lost to Chaz Barstow will be disappointing. He should, whilst I don't agree with the way that Jar phrased it, the world number one should not be losing to a 90 average, averaging 86 and bombing out that way. If Barstow rocks up and throws 100 at him or high 90s and is gun his doubles, fair enough, good performance. But to lose to a 90 average, that's the games that you didn't see the likes of Taylor, Van Gerwen, Gando, Lewis, Barney back in the day lose. They lost to good performances. But that being said, he goes and puts it right the next day again. So, look, he's shown 2 out of the 4 days he's still very, very good at darts. And he'll be feeling a lot more comfortable heading into that Premier League. Obviously, we don't know where Van Gerwen is. We're going to talk about another one of the ones that there was major concerns about before the Premier League, before this week, who, again, like Gezi, had a good Super Series, but the rest of them are struggling. Dozer, World of Trouble, without being disrespectful, those performances weren't great. Nathan Aspinall, another one. Rob Cross, so hit and miss still. We're going to use what is a Rob Cross line inevitably. Dimmy, I still don't know. I think the minute you put Dimmy on stage, A, completely different, and B, we're not sure. Had a run to a semi, didn't he?
A quarter, maybe.
quarter.
Yeah.
Still enough there for D'Souza, but there are big concerns for a few of the field. And until 4 days ago, Peter Wright and Gerwen Price were included in that conversation. Now, they're not relegation threat with the form I've seen.
No, look, you can't say that about Price because Price has made the semi-finals of the last 2 TV tournaments. He made a UK Open semi-final where he got outplayed in the first 5 legs by James Wade, and that was that. And he made a semi-final at the Masters that went to a last legger against Merv. It happens, you know? And he just hasn't performed that great on the Pro Tour. Now, in that race to 7 where it's going to be in the Premier League, it's a bit different. He has to make sure that he gets out the gate quick. That's what he has to do in the Premier League because that's Price's biggest problem is that he doesn't win enough games in a Prem. He draws far too many. And this year, in that field, in my opinion, certainly top 2 or 3, maybe even 1 weakest Premier League field that we've seen overall at this moment in time, there's no excuses. World number 1, world champion in that field. If you are not making the top 4, I mean, look, anything can happen in terms of winning the league phase, but if you're not making the top 4, no excuses, no hiding places, none.
We'll come on to someone else shortly, but from there, on day number 3, it wouldn't be a Pro Tour, but that's a Ferret title, and he's now the Flying Ferret. We've added some syllables to his nickname, Buttjar. He was again on day 3 sensational.
I watched that day with you and with Luke, I think it was Barzy, on the Thursday before nipping off for the final because I had to go and write the report, and I was surprised at the way Clayton, quite frankly, pissed it. He absolutely smashed it. He dropped 20 legs all day. It weren't even close. 6-3, 6-2, 6-3, 6-3, 6-4. There was the quarterfinal against D'Souza. 7-0 against Jason Heber in his maiden PDC CB semi-final. You know, it's difficult. And then he goes and beats James Wade 8-5 in the final. He was never pushed. Never went to a last leg decider. Dropped 20 legs all day. Johnny Clayton, for me, I mean, look, it's not the biggest shout in the world at the moment, but Johnny Clayton's the most informed player in the world. If you're looking at it, Johnny Clayton is the most informed player in world darts right now. And if he doesn't make the, about to say, if he doesn't make the top 4, and I know we had to keep coming back to this, but if he doesn't make the top 4 in the Premier League this year, someone will have had to have a fantastic Premier League in order to defeat him. Because since that World Cup, he has just not looked back.
Yeah, no, look, he's been absolutely sensational, Gob. And like you say, confidence in this sport does wonders for you.
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm going to trip one of my cliche lines out there. Winning becomes a habit. And Johnny Clayton is winning a lot, and it's becoming a very, very big habit for him. I go back to the MVG unbeaten run in last leg deciders. When you've done that so often, so comfortably, you know you can come through it. Johnny Clayton is getting over the line in those scrappy games as well. Now he's coming through with big averages, and he's maintaining those performances for the duration of the game. In the past, we've seen players put these in 4 or 5 leg spurts, tail off a bit, get pushed back a little bit, and then start to panic. And they're just not doing that at the minute. The minute a player gets out the gates quickly, they are maintaining it for somewhere between 7 and 15 legs. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, 100%. I can't wait to see the Ferret in the Premier League, which we'll talk about that more in a minute. But on to day 4, someone else that had huge form concerns after what we'd seen through butchered equipment and javelin equipment. Snakebite back in the winner's circle, playing with a dart that everyone in the world says he should play with more often. And surprise, surprise, he's back in the winning circle, God.
Yeah, straight barrel dart for Snakey, the standard 7 flight setup of reasonable length. His scoring looked ridiculously good throughout the day. His first 9 average was like 113 for the entire day, which is ridiculously steady. And his finishing wasn't too bad either. Jar mentioned that Clayton lost 20 legs all day. Peter Wright only lost 18. And 5 of them were Steve West and Steve Lennon. He brushed aside Jack Main, Adam Hunt, Will O'Connor, Joe Cullen, and Gerwen Price for 9 legs between them. It sounds even more impressive when you put it like that. So, yeah, look, fantastic return to form for him. 3 days in a row playing with the same equipment, possibly 4. We didn't see him on stream on the opening day before he exited the competition.
No, he played with the other ones on the first day. He said it in his interview with Dan. He only played with those for 3 days.
And then 3 days where he had good results. Shock, horror, Peter Wright. Please, for the love of God, play with either those darts or the darts you won the World Championship with. Because when he's on with them, the grouping of 180s on a pinhead, he could put 15 in that treble segment when he's on it. They just stand up. They're so tightly knit. The action looks so much better when he throws these darts as well. The follow-through looks ridiculously better. The difference in width of the barrel that he was throwing to the last Super Series to this one just means his grip and the way he releases his hand will be so much more used to that after he's thrown these for so long. And he needs to get out the mentality that there's something in the darts, there's an extra % to be found in the darts. No, it's practice now. You've done your practice hours, you've done your equipment, you know what works for you. Now it's all about what goes on in your head because it's not the darts anymore.
100% agree. In the chat room, let us know over the 4 days, who was your performance of the Super Series and who were you most disappointed with? Because we're going to talk about that now. Obviously, for all the good results, there were some absolute shockers, gentlemen. And after 4 days, Jar, go with you first. Who are you most concerned about right now?
Well, the biggest concern, I think, is that Lee Boyce of our team has actually tipped a winner. I mean, throwing a shit to
and it was snake bite out of nowhere. Snake bite out of nowhere as well. Like, if you picked Wadey, if you picked Price or Clayton, fair play, right? But to pick snake bite after the first Super Series of the first 3 days, solid.
Well, so that's the biggest surprise. But my biggest concern, and I think a lot of people have said it in here already, jackpot. He is in a world of trouble. Grouping did not look good. The averages weren't good. Didn't really perform great. I don't think he made I don't think he made further than a board final. Correct me if I'm wrong. He just doesn't look himself, and there are serious questions with the way Adrian Lewis is playing right now. I really, really worry. Really worry about him. And if he isn't careful, we say at the moment, as it's a bit of a thing like, oh, surely there's no way he won't make the World Championships. But if he doesn't, at the moment, he ain't going to make the match play. He ain't going to make the Grand Prix. And some money comes off his ranking there. If he doesn't make the Players' Championship finals, he is in huge trouble.
Agreed. Job for you?
Yeah, jackpot's up there. I'm going to do a bit of a Michael Vaughan here because I sat here last week or the week before saying I was not concerned by him at all. And after 2 weeks, I'm flip-flopping and changing my mind. The performances weren't...
that is a proper Michael Vaughan. That is a proper Michael Vaughan thing. Last week, the greatest team in the world. Next week, that's brilliant. Love that.
Yeah.
What a shout that is.
Look, after the Masters, I wasn't concerned by Lewis. We knew he was defending a lot, but his action looked fantastic. He was jovial. He looked in a much better state of mind when he was competing. And I thought, here we go. He's back. I'm not concerned. Super Series 1 performances were okay, not exceptional. Lost a couple of games he shouldn't have, but bit of rustiness. You could shrug it off. This Super Series, changed back darts again, back to the smooth ones. Horrendous. In a lot of trouble. A few more that had bad Super Series. Nathan Aspinall back to the standard darts. That initial change because of how cold the venues were and looking for extra grip seems to have got to him a little bit. Although he is another player that favours playing in front of a crowd. So we're just waiting on that to come back. There's a couple of other names in the chat room as well.
Ian White.
Someone said Vandenberg. Tommy said Vandenberg. Not overly concerned with Vandenberg. I think it's a bit harsh. Given the year he had last year, he's not defending an awful lot this year, and he's had his surgery. So whilst we don't quite know what's going on yet, we don't have much practice session putting gearing for the Premier League. If he's still like this in 6 months' time, then yes, maybe we can say that. Someone said Cullen didn't do his best. Cullen still earned £11,500 over the 4 days, just because he won 23.5 grand in the Super Series before. Cullen did steady. Most disappointing with Barney.
I'm sorry.
Performances
can I just?
weren't great.
I'm really sorry to interrupt, Gob. I'm really sorry to interrupt, but that Cullen comments just really caught me cold. He's still number 2 on the order of merit overall for the Players' Championships this year, and he didn't have a great Super Series. Do one.
Yeah, 11.5 grand over 4 days. I wish 11.5 grand over 4 days was a bad Super Series. Plenty of players didn't earn 1,100 quid, let alone 11.5 grand. Luke says most disappointed with Barney. Look, I think the crest of the wave is on its way back down now, and it's can he motivate himself for the next one? There's a big gap between the next time we're going to see Barney play darts, and it's has he got the drive to keep practicing, to keep going and get back to the level we saw him at Q School. That was the big target, that big goal right in front of him. I've seen it with a friend recently as well, how he was meant to be going to Q School, was playing really well, decided for financial reasons couldn't quite go, and then saw his averages drop off in the next week. And I'm like, well, you've lost your goal, you've lost something to strive for, so you're just going through the motions. Barney's already effectively in a match play, and he's got his card back and he's got a win, so he's going through the motions a little bit this week. Obviously, he had the health scare as well, and he is back in good health. We've seen it all over social media, a few posts that he's good and he's feeling fine after the scare on the final day. But he's another one that being called out. People that had good form, Steve Beaton.
All I'll say is very quickly about Barney. I'll say this very, very quickly about Barney. First of all, and the most important thing is that thank God he's all right. That's the first most important thing of everything. Thank Christ, because we were on it. Obviously, we were on air on the Friday, and it didn't. For a while, it wasn't looking good. Thank God it is. But you talk about there being in the match play. You do realise now, God, he's $5 grand off. He's $5.5 grand off. Sorry, $4.5 grand off the match play now. He's got a lot of work to do unless he goes and wins another Pro Tour. If he wins another Pro Tour, then I agree with you. He's in. But he's got to go and do something because, you look at the like of Alan Souter, who's constantly picking up money. And again, I don't know, that's maybe talk about good form. You look at the way Alan Souter's been playing. If he keeps on going like he's going, another semi-final, maybe first ever Pro Tour final, he could make the match play on debut.
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the disappointment ones I've got, and I love the man to bits, was Anderson. Wasn't a good 3 days. Didn't play on the last one. Anderson only picked up $1 grand, I think, and for world number 6, that's not good form for Gary Anderson fans.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you thought
for me,
you think that before the season started, you thought the top 4 in the Premier League would be Price, Wright, Van Gerwen, and Anderson before everything really kicked off with everything else. Now, he looks like he could be floating about mid-table with the way that he's playing.
He's still going to chuck in a ridiculous performance one night. It's just, is he going to be consistent enough to back it up the following night? And we've said this a lot about Gary recently, that he is one that is going to benefit from playing darts consistently and moving behind closed doors on consecutive nights should give Gary a little bit of a boost. It's whether or not it's enough to motivate him over that time frame to put the performances in consistently. You'd expect, even with him not playing to maximum level, he lost to Dirk twice, was it? At least once.
Yes.
Horrid draw. Dirk was superb against him. Like, you'd expect him to have enough to beat some of the other players in that field at the moment, which won't see him relegated, and then he can build on it from there and go at people once the season starts getting going again. He can get into the practice regime that he promised with Ryan Searle, etc. So there's worrying signs, but not yet, purely because of Nathan Aspinall's form and Glenn Doran's form.
And Rob Cross.
Yes. So, with that in mind, the Super Series is done. We'll come on to the talking point in a minute, but whilst we've just got this here, the race for the match play, who do we think is safe on that race for the match play table?
I think that anybody over 25 grand already is safe. Do I think that
Just
you'll
the
need
top six.
£25,000 to qualify for the match play? Probably not. Purely and simply because there's no Euro Tours. Normally, I'd be saying around about 25k gets you into the match play. I have got a funny feeling that you'll probably need about, I don't know. This is quite interesting because it depends on how many Pro Tours we get. Because if you notice with the Premier League announcement, they've split the days again. So I don't know whether they're going to play more Pro Tours and try and get as many Pro Tours as they can in the front end of the year to then go, we're going to play a load of the Euro Tours in the back end of the year. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Look, I think we've got one block coming up, and I think we'll have at least one other, if not two, is my gut.
So on that basis then, you're probably looking at about what? 20 grand?
I think
Maybe.
Darius might be all right. I think Darius. I think these players are going to add to their totals anyway. The players that are already in green. But B, if you think Joe Cullen earned 11.5 grand from 4 solid days, the actual pickup rate of prize money for everybody else below is not fantastic. And when you consider how many spots there are below, how many people would need to do that, for someone like Mervyn King or Dirk van Dijvenbode to not get in, the last 8 for 4 days in a row would pretty much have to be the next 8 on the list.
So you look at this, right? We had how many? 13 Pro Tours last year before the match play. Because we had the 8 events that were being used before the pandemic, then we had 5 straight after that. And that also included a load of the Euro Tours as well. So we have to try and take that into consideration. But there was 22.5 grand done there for Ricky Evans to qualify for the match play. That was last year. Now with no Euro Tour, you're probably looking at around about, what, 20, 25. 25 at the absolute max. So I think that anybody currently who's got a 2 next to their name will probably be there. So that goes all the way down to Clemens, Ritz, and King. Van Dijvenbode, Labanauskas, Jermaine, Marders, Ross Smith, and Ryan Searle have all. Look, do I think Dirk will get that? Absolutely, I do. But I'm not ruling out Alan Suter yet. All the way down to somewhere like an Alan Suter, I'm not ruling out yet. You look at the way Scott Waits is playing. You think that he's going to be doing bits. Luke Humphrey's got to a final, obviously playing against Gerwen Price. He's now jumped up. Look, if there's about 16 or 17 Pro Tour events before the match play, look, we could be looking at about 20, 22 grand again.
Yeah, 100%. It's an interesting conundrum trying to guess it without the Euro Tour, so that's going to be interesting. In the chat room, a lot of discussion on it. Yeah, some good points there in the chat room from you all as well. Someone asked about a dart light. Best 2 for me is the Target Corona and the Windmill Plasma.
You look at this, Rob, by the way, here's an interesting one. You look at this. Ian White and Johnny Clayton. Now, obviously, they would swap because White would qualify for the match play only just at this moment in time. But you look at that, they're only £1,000 off each other at the moment. And do you want Ian White? Would you want Ian White to be a seed at this moment in time? If Ian White wants to be a seed and try and avoid Clayton, because that at the moment is a mess. Ian White has dropped like a stone.
Yeah, 100%. that's a little battle that's interesting there between Clayton and White as well. We'll come on to that. Right. From here, after
Which one are we going to?
the final on day 4, found a nice little picture to go with it as well.
Cute. That's cute.
Ah, look at them.
Um,
Is that the year that Wright won the
I think-
Wright won the world?
I think it's fair to say that said Dutchman is living in said Scotsman's head completely rent-free at the moment.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. When I heard about this, because I was away on Friday. I was at my wonderful girlfriend's house on Friday, having a nice glass of red wine, enjoying a bit of MasterChef, watched the quarterfinals when I heard, and then all I saw was our chat going mental, ladies and gentlemen. And I picked up my phone and I saw the comment, and I can't tell you exactly what I said, but you can guess it for something's sake. Why do this? Why do this? Because all you're doing now is adding more pressure to yourself. What was the comment that he made? Was it the Grand Prix, Barzi? Or was it another Super Series event when he talked about Van Gerwen going out of tournament? Was it the Slam?
Yeah, it was the Slam, and the question that was asked was, and I still remember it very, very well because I was the one that asked it and deliberately didn't give any players' names. The question was, Peter, with the World Championship on the horizon, where is your game heading towards Alexandra Palace? And instantly, he brings up Gerwen Price and Michael Van Gerwen.
Right. And what happened the following night? Or was it, no, sorry, 3 nights later? 3 nights later, what happened?
He went out.
Correct. Yeah, okay. What happened in the next event, Barzi? In the Players' Championship finals?
He went out.
He went in the semi-finals to Mervyn King.
Merv King.
And Michael Van Gerwen won that title, didn't he not?
Correct.
Right. And what happened at the World Championships, Barzi? Just remind me.
He lost early to Gabriel Clemens.
He did. And when did Michael Van Gerwen make the quarterfinals before getting absolutely destroyed by Dave Chisholm in one of the best performances he's ever seen in his career, correct?
Yes.
Right. So the last 3 ranking TV titles, actually, sorry, excuse me, the last 4 ranking TV titles, because he also went out at the UK Open early in the 4th round to Dave Chisnell when Van Gerwen made the semi-finals of that tournament. What are you doing? What are you doing? How can you just... Why, Peter, are you putting that much pressure on yourself? Because when, and it... Well, excuse me, I won't say when. If you go out of another tournament before Michael Van Gerwen does, and if Michael Van Gerwen goes on and wins a televised title, what does that make you look? As we said before on one of the podcasts that we did at the time, if you don't back it up and you don't talk like it is, you make yourself look like a prat. And he's in danger of doing so again. Stop letting Van Gerwen live in your head rent-free, concentrate on your darts, do what you were doing in the last 3 days of the Super Series, and go and win a TV title. You've won 2 of them. Van Gerwen has won more than 2. A few more than 2. Just shut up. Stop talking.
Job. We all know when we go back to events, it'll be my fault for stirring it up, box standard, but I'm a big enough boy to take that. It's all right playing mind games, but you've got to be mentally strong enough to play them. Is he mentally strong enough to play mind games?
A man that changes his darts as often as he does is not mentally strong enough. This game is more about mentality. And to be honest, I'm going to say this now. I genuinely don't think any of the field are strong enough to play mind games at the minute. I think it's so open. you're literally susceptible to a defeat from anywhere and anyone. We've seen that from the Pro Tours. We've seen that from the amount of different winners we saw last year. It's not the right time or place for anybody to be playing mind games. You do that when you're dominating, when nobody can get near you, and when you've got the confidence behind you. It's brilliant that Peter genuinely believes in his head that he is confident enough to start making these comments, but he hasn't backed it up in the last 4 attempts, like Jar said. Even when he went on to win the Worlds and everything before that, he was talking about it way before it actually happened. And for me, don't get me wrong, Marco van Gerwen is still a fantastic player, but the form he's in recently away from the floor, and all right, he's recovered it a little bit with the UK Open semi-final run, but he's not picking up titles. He's not your biggest worry. Trying to play mind games with somebody that you shouldn't be concerned about.
Yeah.
Just dumb.
Agreed.
It just.
And if you are that concerned about it before you've even picked up a dart, then go and speak to a sports psychologist, because you're in a world of trouble. This constant need to obsess around it is just ridiculous. Like, call out the rest of the field. And to be fair, we've seen this from other players within the field as well. Let's not ham in on one person. We said on social media about Devon Peterson doing it last year. And all right, he had an injury pretty much soon afterwards, but it still made him look pretty stupid. And I think that perhaps he would have picked the form up a little bit quicker, or not tried to practice through it as much, or along those lines. I think that those comments, knowing that he made them in the form he was in after getting into that little bit of a rivalry with Gezi for a couple of weeks as well, I think that pushed him further with that injury than he needed to go and made things worse. And don't get me wrong, comments like that for us three, sat here doing what we do on this show, gives us something to talk about, gives us something to write up, gives us something to push on social media to generate interest and conversations about darts, right? Keep going. But when it's the same stuff over and over again from the same people, that's not creating a rivalry. It's just not. It's just a bit ridiculous.
All I'm going to say on this issue is this, okay? All I'll say, one final thought that I just had, right? Who has won a TV title more recently out of the two?
MVG.
Correct. So the last TV title, the last ranked televised title, I don't necessarily give a damn about the rest of them, because whilst they're, lovely and all that, it is what it is. The last ranked televised title that Peter Wright won was the 2020 World Championship. Before then, his only other one was the 2017 UK Open. He's missed multiple match darts to beat Marco van Gerwen on multiple occasions in big finals, as Rod Studd said before he called in the double 10, right, to win the title. Van Gerwen won the UK Open and the Players' Championship finals. He came close in the majority of them. He made a quarterfinal of the Grand Prix. He made the quarterfinals of the Slam. He made the quarterfinals of the Worlds. He's getting close, right? Ain't getting there, right? The point of the matter is this: it's not good enough for Wright to sit there and say that unless he backs it up. He hasn't done it. It's nonsense. Nonsense.
I thought the funniest thing is that Van Gerwen wasn't even there.
If he'd beaten him, would it have words, or he was gone on and Van Gerwen was doing some talking? I completely understand the comments. I just don't get the constant need to try and start something that isn't there. If they're there and they're about to meet, fine, drum it up. Give it some. You don't need to be trying to plant this seed when there's a potential that they don't meet for the rest of the year. They genuinely might not play. Oh, they will do it. Sorry. But they will meet a maximum guaranteed one time by the end of the year.
Just a correction. I did completely forget this, and this is my fault. Peter Wright did win the 2020 European Championship as well, which is a ranked TV title. Please excuse me, completely forgot that one.
Yeah, but that's the funniest bit, that for me, Van Gerwen wasn't even there. And Wright still decided to bring it up. Which, don't worry, I will ask Michael about it. Don't worry.
All I'll say is that all I don't want for this now, okay, is for his supporters, when you do ask MVG, which you're allowed to do as a content creator, not as a journalist, please excuse me, as a content creator, when you are allowed to, when you speak to MVG, you are allowed to ask that question. All I'll say is that this ain't you stirring up a rivalry. You're asking him his thoughts on the matter. That's what you're doing. I don't want his supporters to go all fuzzy about it.
No, not his supporters, just one person.
All right,
Yeah.
all right.
Also,
right, few in the chat room are the same.
Jake actually makes a good point. To be fair, with that European Championship, Wright didn't speak any nonsense. He just got on with his darts and needs to do that more often. Yes, do that because you're very, very good. You're very, very good at darts. Just let your darts do the talking, Peter. Please.
100%. Interesting. Right, another topic from the weekend, which we're going to address. Not this one in particular, but this is a general term here. But this highlighted it. Obviously, Barney had a huge health scare, which it looks like it was because of his diabetes and his blood sugar and all that. He took a turn for the worst. But lifestyles within these bubbles. Look, I appreciate that this is the only way these can happen at the moment, and this isn't a gripe at the PDC or anything like that because they've done magnificent to get them on. However, within these bubbles, does more need to be done for their lifestyle job? Because one, it's not great living in these bubbles, and two, I'm talking about diet and everything like that goes with it. It's not a great environment to be in for 5-6 days.
It's not even the bubbles, mate. It's when they're doing this on consecutive weekends, 4, 5, 6 in a row. It's not great for players' health. It's not an environment that is conducive to a healthy lifestyle. Look, it's difficult to talk about this, but the PDC and the powers that be spent a lot of time and effort trying to clean up the image of this sport. There is still a very, very large percentage of the field that will consume alcohol in large quantities every single time they play darts. Sorry, that's a fact. Just because you don't see it on TV, it happens backstage, it happens at the Pro Tours. The biggest gripe that a lot of players had at Q School was there's no bar, right? It's still a thing, it's still a factor, it still has a massive influence on the outcome of results as you see them, even if you don't notice it as much as perhaps we do seeing it firsthand. So that's an immediate problem. The timing, these are long, long days, right? With not a lot of breaks in between the games. So you literally have to get up early, have your breakfast, hope it's big enough, which probably means a fry up or something along those lines. Then consume lots of alcohol. And then by the time you're knocked out or finished, chances are you're in a hotel and it's fast food or even restaurant food. So look, the sport is not, it doesn't look after the players, and that's the lifestyle. That's just the way the events run. When you go to the Euro Tours, it's exactly the same. When you go to the big TV events, it's a little bit different, but still the players are in hotels. It just depends how many days they get between games, if they can travel to and from home. And the issue is there's not enough money in darts yet for the players to start expanding the teams they've got behind them. You look at other individual sports such as golf or tennis played at the highest level, ridiculous amounts of money. They have coaches, they have psychologists, they have dietitians with them whenever they go travelling. These guys can't afford that, especially not the ones outside the top 32. Some of them can just about afford to get to the events and travel for the year round with sponsors and that sort of thing. We're in a place of limbo at the minute. The sport even needs to find a massive, massive injection of cash so it can go to the very, very next level. Or we accept that that's not going to happen. The players have to keep trying to do it themselves and we get more health scares like Barney.
Yeah. Evening, Mace.
Sorry.
Hope
if I say Mace just gone, really? Mace coming in there with a killer question. No, never seen that. Never seen it before. Never seen it before, Chris, at all. No, the point. This is the point, right? You've made eloquently, God, when you say this. I don't really want to add much more to it, but I'll give you an example. I'll be very fortunate to be inside a Pro Tour event. Went just before 2019, just at the start of 2019, when we were a new show at the time. That you're wearing the wonderful shirt of Tonight God. And I was inside the Pro Tour arena, and the Saturday night, the guys go out for a drink. They go out for a drink to play a bit of pool, to go and grab some food. They all go out. A load of them go out together. That's how they unwind. It's how they relax. Not being able to do that in this arena is difficult for the players. I mean, you think about it. Yes, you could be getting paid thousands of pounds for winning an event, but you think about it. You don't win any of those events at all. You don't win anything across that 4 events. You've had to pay for your hotel, pay for your breakfast, pay for everything. You can't really go out anywhere. You've been cooped up in a bubble. Mentally, I'd be shot. It just is a fact. And you look at it and go, it's difficult for the players. It is difficult for the players to be in this environment. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to be cooped up in a bubble for 4 days in a hotel where bars are closed, where everything else is closed, because it just doesn't feel like an event. And I think for some players in particular, where you don't stay on site, I mean, Barzi, you and I have been very, very fortunate to go and have a drink with some players in the hotels after events, haven't we? And you see a completely different side, and you see a completely different side to them. They can let their hair down, they can be normal human beings. Bob, you've had the same, haven't you? We've all 3 of us have been fortunate to be in that position. And when you're not able to be in that position with people, it does take an effect on your mental health. It has to be.
Yes, 100%. Speaking of bubbles, the Premier League announcement we've been waiting for, we now have all the dates, and Milton Keynes, the new home of World Darts until the summer at least. Now, the blocks are there. We knew about 2 of them, but they've confirmed that the rest of it will be held at the Marshall Arena at MK. But in the press release we got today was interesting. They still hold out hope that final block, there may be fans in, which is interesting and great potential news.
It'll be interesting to see. Look, they've done wonders every time we've seen a television event for the last year to 18 months. The way they've set things up, and the Marshall Arena will be no different. We've seen the level of commitment from Barry and Matt trying to get darts events as top of the very list for volunteering for trial events. We've seen before they did the snooker, they had the opening night of the World Championships as test events, and they will work their backsides off to do it again. That opening night of the World Championships was one of the most safest environments those people in that room have been in for about a month and a half. At least they'd have been to supermarkets and travelled about and God knows else what. The way they set it up, all the rules, it was ridiculously safe on that opening night. And they will do the same, and they will follow any requirements and restrictions, and it will build an atmosphere. And look, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're potentially 2 and a bit months away from seeing fans inside a sporting arena. It's different for football and fans going back outside, but inside a sporting arena, if there's a way to get it done, Matt and Barry will.
Yeah, I think interesting news as well. The Crucible has been confirmed as a test venue, I believe. Is it 200-300 per session? Which is interesting, and it's a start, and that's in April. So if that goes well, we could potentially see 500, 1,000 fans in that last block in May, which would be amazing for the players.
Yeah.
Are we going there, Gob? Sorry, mate.
We've been missing it. We saw
Mottler.
We saw the effect the crowd had at the European Championships, and we saw, albeit a smaller crowd at the World Championship, it just felt back to normal. It just felt different. It felt so much better. It's what we've been missing. It's what we've been craving. It's what just adds the icing on the cake. And yeah, the sooner they're back, the better.
Yeah, 100%. In the chat room, what do we all think? Do we think there is a genuine possibility of fans at these events? Let us know. And just looking at it, obviously, we've got 2 blocks up until Judgment Night, a 5 and a 4. And then afterwards, it's just free for all. We've got 3. And then we will play to a winner of the 2021 Premier League. I'm guessing you as a player, obviously Peter's joined us in the chat room. As a player, you have to approach this. Is it a block at a time? For you, Gob, obviously having played darts at a half decent level on the Dev Tour, do you do a block at a time?
I guess so. The focus is on that first block. 5 weeks that's make or break for your season right there, pretty much. You can't win the Premier League in that opening block, but you can lose it. You can be out of the running for it pretty much straight away. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of darts we played after that. But a bad start, pressure on yourself, difficult performances, let games that perhaps should go your way get out of your way, and you're massively up against it to start with. So yeah, you approach it block at a time, but I think, look, any sportsman that stands there and tells us they haven't looked at the draw, they haven't planned their route to anything, is lying to you. And not only are they looking at those blocks, they'll be looking at the fixtures, knowing, look, if a player's got a more favourable draw at the minute, considering form for the last 4 nights, heading into Judgment Night, they'll be looking at that as to where to pick up their bank of a point. So they'll be trying to peak for that, make sure they don't lose that. It's the same as any sport. You hand pick your fixtures in a group, in a league phase like this.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Obviously, people like Aspinall, Price, that I think they're the 2 arguably that have suffered more than anything. If they could be in contention, if some fans come back in, that would give not just those 2, but all of them a huge boost as well, potentially in those final few nights.
Massively. Look, some of this field are in there because they won tournaments without fans, but you look at them and you look at their performance in the past, and there's only really one player in that entire lineup that I'm looking at going, they might be worse off with fans back. And that's Jose de Souza. Everybody else is going to feed off that crowd, is going to live off that crowd, has been on that big stage environment before and had success or relative success there or big performances there. Jose's the only one who hasn't really done that. The last time he played in a big crowd at the World Championships, lost early.
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think Jake says in the chat room,
the fans stuff on the Euros.
Yeah.
He has won on the Euro Tour before with fans.
Jake says, will the fans have to social distance? Because pointless if they do. Look, I think up until June 21st, there are still social distancing measures in place. However, you saying it's pointless, I disagree. I was lucky enough to be at the Worlds for the opening night, and the only night there was fans in the building. And even though there was social distance, it made a huge difference. It was huge, absolutely monstrous, because there was still an atmosphere, there was still a noise in there. So even if they are social distance, they still enjoyed themselves, they still cheered the 180s, they booed the doubles, they did what dart fans do. And I think that can have a huge effect. But in terms of social distancing, look, the plan and the roadmap still says the match play will be normal at the moment.
The thing is that at the end of the day, right, you look at it and go, what? 21st June, will it happen? I don't think it will. You know, everyone's looking at this negative news at the moment coming over from Europe in terms of the third wave that's supposedly sweeping the continent, as it were. Look, we are just going to have to be patient, unfortunately. And we know that a lot of people in the chat room, as we can see, are fed up with it. Look, we're fed up with it. We don't want to be doing this virtually anymore. We want to be doing it in person with you guys, having a laugh on a Monday night. That's what we want to be doing it with. But until such time as the government allowed us to play nicely, we don't want to risk it. And that's the thing. So, look, patience is the word now. I do genuinely think that we've turned a corner. The vaccine program, in particular in our country at the moment, the United Kingdom's going down pretty damn well. I've got a holiday booked to Lanzarote 2 days after the Premier League finishes. Whether that goes ahead is another issue entirely at this moment in time. But look, we're just going to have to be patient. And I'll tell you what, if we can get into Blackpool and it is a normal match play, how lovely will that be?
Up there with the very best is the thing.
Yeah, normal match.
It'll be
Just a normal
fantastic.
pop world, please.
Please, back into Pot World. Yes.
Yes. Right, guys. It's that time. We are going to throw the chat room open. Because question time goes down so well, we've opened it up a little bit. We're going to go a little bit longer with your questions because everyone seems to like them. So, the chat room is yours. Boys, go through any ones that we've already had. And let's go. Fire away, guys. Give us your best. Give us your worst.
I think we'll let the political conversations die down a little bit and the validity of wearing masks and social distancing and does the vaccine work. We can all debate that in our own times. If you've got any dark questions,
please.
I get we
would be
start.
great.
I've got one for Peter in the chat room because he said, I would love a normal match play. Going back to the final with Phill, do you regret giving him the walk-on?
Peter Wright, how many majors will Michael van Gerwen win this year, lads? Well, you think it's naught, don't you? So it doesn't matter what we think, mate. It's what you've said before. Right.
I think he'll win 3, by the way, Pete.
I think he will win. I think he'll win 2. Question, very quickly. More than you, Peter. Brilliant. Jonathan Roberts asks, could we do set play on the Euro Tour? Oh, interesting.
No.
I'd like the concept of it. I like the concept of it, but it's just not going to happen because it would just then throw off the Euro Tour, wouldn't it? It just wouldn't work.
The problem with the Euro Tour is the same with the Pro Tour and trying to mix up events there. It counts towards the final order of merit for the European Championship and the Players' Championships. You're just not going to randomly chuck in some different format events to count towards that at the end. You're just going to play straight up leg play. Yes, it would be brilliant to have a little bit more variation in some of the events, but I don't see that happening with the Euros or with the Players' Champs. Look, I keep going back to the interview Barzi did with Barry a few weeks ago, where he spoke about this year is just about resetting, get rid of everything back up and running. And next year they're going global again. They're going to attack new areas of the world and try and grow the sport even more. With that, I genuinely think they might try and vary some of the formats to suit things we see around the world. Whether or not we'll see a steel tip game of cricket, I'm not quite sure, but we might see something a little bit more varied to try and draw in the new market. So, yeah.
No, I agree.
Reese asks if you had to pick one person.
Who are you 3 backing so I know not to back?
Who said that?
Stephen Cottis. Who are you three backing so I know who not to back?
That's a good question, to be fair. It's a good point. Right. Reese asks, if you had to pick one person to throw a leg in 12 darts or less to save your life right now, who are you picking? That's easy for me.
Right now?
Yes, that's easy for me right now. There's only one player that I can pick.
Johnny Clayton.
Correct. It's the correct answer. 10 points to you.
Me. Fuck it, I've had enough.
10 points for Gryffindor.
Malachi asks, do you think I'm crazy for putting an each-way bet on Vandenberg for the Premier League? Yes.
Yes.
Look,
at this minute, this time last year,
himself.
or after the slam, maybe not, but yeah, world of trouble now.
No. At the moment, his knee looks in. He still doesn't look confident with it. I'd say he's probably second favourite to go down right now. If you want me to be really honest, probably second or third favourite to go down.
Interesting.
Missy says, "What's your favourite walk-on tune?" Let's not. We've done our walk favourites, but we've never, or what we picked. We've never done. What's our favourite of the current crop? I'm gonna say Chris Dobie, Hollywood, great tune, absolutely love it. Works as a walk-on superbly.
What's your second one then, Gob?
Just in case he's watching.
That's what happened last. That's what happened last week, lad.
Duh.
What's your second favourite then?
For me, my favourite is. My favourite is genuinely is the ferret. You've got to love a bit of Chuck. You've got to love a bit of Chuck Berry. When Johnny B. Good comes on, how can you not love that song? Belt.
Mine is Nathan Aspinall, Mr. Brightside.
It gets the
Still in the
going.
charts. Still in the top 100. Still in the top 100. That will never leave. Forget the calendar ticking over in the world ending. The world will end the day that Mr. Brightside is not in the top 100 weekly chart for the UK. We're in a world of trouble when that happens.
Yeah, 2004 did that come out? Hot Fuss?
Something ridiculous. Yeah.
It was 2004 because it was a question today on Popmaster. There you go.
I just remember it because it was the same year as The Streets of Grand That Come for Free.
What an
album that was.
Yeah. So, God, what's yours? Mine's Nathan Aspinall.
Oh, Tony O'Shea, DJ Oxy, Hey Baby.
Stolen by Max Hop.
Yeah. Shit, that. I stopped using it after he did.
Jonathan, no, Darts New
So you found 5
this year. Agree. Good one from Jake.
That was a question.
Van Dyvenbode to be at the end of the year in the rankings? Good question.
Depends on whether he wins a TV tournament or not. Because if you don't win
he was just outside the top.
Because if you don't win a TV tournament, then he ain't going to be in the top 16. If he wins one, I reckon he'll be top 10. But if he doesn't win one, it will probably be around about 18, 19.
Yeah.
I'm going balls deep. Dirk Van Dijvenbode will be 13 in the world.
Bold.
Would he win a TV title?
Bold.
No, but I think he'll make 3 semi-finals.
That is bold.
Go big or go home.
About semis. Go big or go home as he's only making semis. Yeah, all right. Wait. George, how many majors will Matt Edgar win? He's got to start winning some first rounds on the Pro Tour first, buddy. One of them weeks for him off the back of the last Super Series as well. Needs more results if we can even start considering majors. He's got to start winning, get to board finals minimum, stepping stones.
Paul
Yeah.
says, so
Paul
the
G,
PDC
thank you
are
very
doing
much, mate.
Yeah, Paul says, so the PDC doing a limited edition of the Ultimate Dark cards to the Premier League, but there's one player missing, Snakebite. Do we speak or do we not speak on that one?
He's in the chat room. Ask him.
Snakey!
It is disappointing for me if you're going to release an ultimate card set like that. I want all 10 players. It just looks a bit daft for 9, in my opinion. So
here we go. Should the knockout stage of the Grand Slam? Jose.
Was that good?
Yeah, where do we think Jose will finish in the Premier League?
7th. Won't be anywhere close to. He literally will go mid-table. Will be nowhere near the top 4, but nowhere near the relegations. 7th. Be a mid-table finish for season 1 of the Premier League career.
6th or 7th, but not challenging the top 4. Wow.
You Gob?
Where will Suter be by the end of the year? Great question. I think if he's not in the top 64, he'll be very, very close to keeping his tour card automatically after 1 year, and he can build on it. His Pro Tour form has been superb. If he can sneak into the match play, he's not a million miles away. Probably better place than Barney now, to be fair. Or even qualify for maybe a couple of Euro tours at the back end of the year. When they do become a thing, sneak into maybe the Slam via the qualifiers. Just outside top 64.
This is a question as well. You didn't tell us where you thought the Jose would finish in the Premier League.
Good question. 7th.
Danny has said, should the knockout stages of the Grand Slam go to set play? Oh, that would be nice. That would make the Grand Slam more interesting. Would actually make the Slam interesting.
Yeah, but for me, you can't mix up a tournament between leg and set play halfway through.
Yeah, you say that, but like it's a
but
group
you can't have a
format.
ranking event that you invite 8 BDO players for now, and God knows else what. They've done it all sorts for the Grand Slam, mate. If there's any event where you can piss about, mix and match, and do whatever, it's the Slam.
This year will be PDC only, though. This year will be PDC
but what
only,
they're going to do?
It can be a true ranking event.
Yeah, a few invites.
There'll be a few invites. There'll be a few challenge, dev. So that makes the Slam completely pointless.
I don't think they will. Listen to what Matt said in the interview. I genuinely think it will just be winners and runners up of majors, and then they'll fill the rest of the spots through qualifiers.
So it makes the Slam completely pointless.
Well, no, I still like it because it's a different format tournament where you have the groups and you've got to come through the group.
Yeah, but then as soon as you come through the group,
the leg races
you then
at the
play
end of that are way too long. The
and
back
then you're playing,
end
and then you're playing best.
Long for what it is.
And then you're playing best of 19, and then you're playing best of 35 matches. I mean, in this sense, you're playing best of 35 matches, one in the afternoon and then one in the evening of best of 35. Come on now. Play it set play. Make it set play. Make it different. Play it in leg play to start with, and then move it to set play. It would make the Slam more. It would actually make the Slam what it was, not unique in that sense as it was before when it was the PDC versus the BDO. Would like it.
Good question here from James. If Price goes back-to-back Worlds, do you think he'll make it past 2 million on the Order of Merit this year? Or, sorry, at some point?
Ooh. Well, he's on what now? Just looked at it. He's on 1302. So if he were to do that and then go and, I don't know, maybe go and win a match play.
Maybe win he's got 100 grand coming off as well for the
Slam.
Second Slam.
Yeah, so you go and win a match play.
43.
So
You'd
you
have to
probably
go
need to win the
1.2
Worlds
this
and
year.
at least 2 other TVs.
1.15.
Look, it's doable.
Yeah,
If he goes
so-
back-to-back Worlds, it's doable.
Have to go
Yeah,
Worlds match
absolutely.
play and Slam or Grand Prix potentially,
3. Or Euros,
Yeah.
potentially.
and defend some of the Slam. Yeah, 843 at the minute, and he's on 1.15.
He's defending half a mil this year.
600,000 if you take off the Worlds.
So, because he made a World Championship semi-final, didn't he? So we've still got 100 grand there coming off. So if you were to make that and were to go in back-to-back Worlds, I reckon it's doable. I reckon it could happen.
Yeah, 100%. It's an
Jackson.
interesting one.
Or Jackson. Is Taylor's run to the 2017 match play title the toughest run to a televised title ever? No,
No,
it is not.
there's one other.
Thornton UK Open. Thornton UK Open.
Thornton UK Open.
That is
Thornton
a mess
UK Open is
of
the
a
most
run.
ridiculous run I've ever seen. Ridiculous.
Was that 2012?
I think so.
Okay, I'm just looking through it now, just so I'm. Where is he? Right, I'm just looking through on Wikipedia, just so I know which way he's going. Okay, so he started on the Friday in round 3, and he played Mark Webster. At the time, very, very good player. Beating Gary Anderson,
Premier League
previous world. Yeah, Premier League, Gary Anderson, and former world finalist. Beating Dennis Priestley, round 5. Wes Newton, cheers, and then going through and beating Taylor. That's a tough draw. That's a tough draw to get through that.
Yeah.
100%.
Premier League, Wes Newton, former BDO World finalist Dave Chisholm, not long after he switched over, and then Phill Taylor in the final. Ridiculous. Robert Thornton was the best tops hitter in the world for a period of time. That's how he won a Grand Prix as well. He was absolutely ridiculous on it. And to be fair, Barzy, got him out of trouble a little bit today in the live league as well a few times from what I saw. He still knows where that segment of the board is.
Yeah.
But to be fair,
they said as well,
but to be
MVG's
fair-
UK Open last year was tough as well.
But to be fair, this is the run that Taylor had to go through in the 17 match play. All right. He played Gezi, who at the time obviously wasn't to the standard he was, but he's still a decent player. I was there for that. Gezi hit a 170 in that game. Then he played Barney, who was still reasonably okay at that point. He then dismantled Michael van Gerwen. Yeah, 11-3. Van Gerwen then dismantled Van Gerwen in Taylor then dismantled Van Gerwen in arguably the biggest bear pit I've ever seen. Then he beat Adrian Lewis 17-9 and then beat Peter Wright, who had won the UK Open that year, 18-8. Not a bad run, that, to be fair. But like you say, do you know what? MVG's UK Open, nah, I'm not having it. Because Cross and Gurney on the finals day were shocking. They hadn't been playing great all the time by that point. Gurney had been had about 17 lives, never mind 9. Yes, he played Aspinall.
If you're going,
and average.
if you're going off that though, then the same to Taylor's match play because Barney was shocking.
And he could have got, and he should have been out as Jason Lowe. Let's not forget that.
Barney averaged 98.92 in that game with Taylor, as we're reliably informed in the chat room. That's not shocking.
Yeah, but if I remember rightly,
No.
that was a scoring average because he didn't get many darts at a double. So it was a bit of a false average if I remember
I love
rightly.
when that happens when I'm playing online.
I think
There's no better thing to do than play somebody online that kicks your ass. Your average looks unreal. Don't get a chance to miss.
That's the point. Which is,
look, for me, MVG's UK Open run was slightly better than it was for the final. If you actually look at the quarter in the semi-final, the players that he was playing at that point and the way they've been playing all weekend weren't that great. And he should have got beaten by Jason Lowe, who, if he didn't manage to hit a double in that first 5 legs, First 10 legs, he could have whitewashed him. He had darts to win every single leg of those 10 legs. Let's not take the piss here.
Peter says, I still remember the final. Yes, mate, the pineapple trousers. We remember it. Ant says, Phil, what's with the curtains tonight? To be fair, I'm rocking this tonight, I think. It's keeping out of my eyes.
Well, so there's a couple of other questions.
Got to be up there.
Whose?
Jose's Grand Slam.
Stand by. So a quick look at this.
Stand by. He's getting the stats out.
I love, you know me, I love the stat. Let's have a quick look. Right. So the Sousa. I mean, to be fair, the group was tough. Michael Smith, Christopher Tysky, and Lisa Ashton. Okay, I'll give you that one. Chizzy in the last 16, who just got to a Grand Prix semi-final. Yeah. Michael Smith. Yeah. Okay, he was playing decent enough stuff. Simon Whitlock, who had just beaten Van Gerwen, and then James Wade, who is arguably the most consistent player in 2020, apart from Gezi. It's not a 27. Do you know what? I'll say this about it, though. I'll say that MVG's UK Open run was probably tougher than that.
Yeah. I think the absence of a top 3 player on their game is what doesn't give Jose that there.
Yeah.
It's not an easy draw by any stretch of the
else.
imagination, but the absence of beating one of the top 3 or 4 over a sustained length, that's missing.
Someone asked in the chat room, who will be the first challenger for Wayne Warren's Mad World Championship? I don't know. The gauntlet or whatever it's called is out at the moment, the mini tournament to become mandatory challenger, but I would love to see Wolfie do it. I don't know if he will or not, but I would like to see Wolfie. Love to see Wolfie with that belt.
To be fair, do you know what? The chat room now, people are bringing up tough runs to the World Championship, tough runs to titles. Jonathan just brought up saying
the World Championship has got to be out there.
Not really.
You go through Dimmy, Bully Boy, MVG, and
Dimmy
Taylor.
at the time wasn't. Yeah, but Dimmy at the time wasn't anywhere near the standard that he was. Yeah, okay, he just won the World Youth, but come on now.
But they still played well in those games.
Dimmy pushed him as well, from what I remember. Then Michael Smith actually won more
He
legs.
did. I was there.
Around afterwards.
No, hang on a second. So Cross survived match starts against Bully Boy, did he not? In that game, if memory serves me correctly.
Bully Boy won more legs.
He played Sego Asada to start with. Okay. He then goes and plays Michael Smith. Yeah. Okay. John Henderson, not the toughest of games. Then he's got Vandenberg, who was 5-1 up against at the time, who then got it back to 5-all. Remember that day, clear as day, because I was actually there on that day. Lewis just beaten Webster 5-0, and Cross was 4-1 up on Dimmy, excuse me. And Webster just got beat 5-0 by Jamie Lewis. I was thinking, bloody hell, it's going to be a quick afternoon session, this. And then Van Gerwen against Cross, and then Cross against Taylor. But Taylor, by that point, he was done with the game. He didn't care. So, again, it's up there, but it's nowhere close to the Taylor match play run of 2017 for me. It's up there, but it's just not the same one because Cross survived match starts. It wasn't like he absolutely smashed players all over the place, whereas Taylor did.
Someone says, should there be more double start tournaments? I don't know necessarily double starts, but I've said it for a while. I'd like to see some more variety in the tournaments. That's why I liked the Champions League, the Slam, because there's something slightly different than just the norm.
I like the Champions League needs to be like a proper football Champions League for me. Top 32, random groups. So you have the top 8 seeds, and then put them all into random groups. Then no pissing about, no last 16 games. Top 8 of to whoever's the top 8 of that group, quarterfinals, straight in, random draw, bang, away you go. That'll make the Masters a lot better, I think, for me as well.
It'll take a while, but I quite like the British pentathlon that's played down at Chelsea. I think that would be interesting.
I would genuinely still love a cricket tournament.
Yeah. Or something like the snooker shootout. I think that's what's next. A bit of razzmatazz and a bit of fun, where it's like a winner stays on, or a one leg 1,000 and it's just quick
one leg
fire
1,001 would work.
Yeah.
I love the shootout idea.
Or world pairs. Or we've said it multiple times, and we've discussed teams, and actually these lineups have probably changed a bit at the minute, but some sort of Ryder Cup format. A big team competition.
Yeah, it's two things that you've said there. One, I know Mace is in the chat room, but probably before your times. But the world pairs, I think Mace played with, was it Steve Roy you played with, Mace? But watching the pairs on Sky was brilliant. But I do love the Ryder Cup type format over a weekend.
Please.
I do love the sound of
that. Literally the only sport that Matchroom are involved in that we don't have something like that in as well. All right, snooker's got the shootout, and you do have a World Cup in snooker, but it's not brilliant. But you've got your pool, you've got your Weber Cup in the bowling, you've got your Mosconi Cup, you've got the Ryder Cup, you've got all these great events that Matchroom have had their fingers in at some point. Not necessarily the Ryder Cup, before anybody calls that out, but they all exist, and they're all brilliant, and they're all massive weapons in the Matchroom armory. And I'm very, very surprised darts hasn't done something like that. Mason, completely agree. World Cup needs to be pairs all the way through. I think the entire population has been saying that for a good number of years now. Hopefully, the PDC take note soon. Because the best thing about the World Cup just gone was that all of the quarterfinals went to pairs matches, and they were superb, and that was the excitement there.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Because, like you say, normally the singles just get boring because it's just like, same old. So, yeah, someone asked Wesley Harms to win a major. Again, I'm going to use my my famous saying, I've got more chance of shitting in the Queen's bed. Because, first of all, you've got to turn up.
Yes. Chris Ballard, who would you say had the easiest run to a TV major? Ooh, interesting. That's a very interesting question.
TV major. Ooh.
It's got to be a European that just opened up at some point. Or a UK Open. If it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be a UK Open, isn't it?
Do you know what I'm looking at? Straight off the bat, I'm looking at a particular UK Open, the first ever one potentially in Butlins. I'm going to have a quick look at this. So, Adrian Lewis went past Ronnie Baxter, Ronnie Hybrex, Barney, Mensor, Merv, and then Terry Jenkins. That was for 2014. That was the first ever one at Minehead.
They were for him, to be fair. He breezed through them.
John
Part 08.
John Part
08.
Yeah.
Oh, funny you should say that. I've got the 08 World Cup as we speak, because that's what I was initially thinking. Andy Smith, Mensur Sulovic, who was pony back then, Alex Roy,
still is now, to be fair.
James Wade. Wade was the toughest one. Kevin Painter, and then Kirk Shepherd in the final. That's up there.
Yeah, that's it.
It's up there.
Well done, John Part. Part wins that.
John Part's 08 world title is right up there.
Well, have a quick look
I'll tell you
and
what,
see. I'll tell you what
one
I'll
name
have a
in this-
look at. I'll have a look. Go on.
One
go
name
on.
in the 08 World Championships that they'd like to block from the copy, but Tony Eccles played in that one.
Did he?
Oh, Wade 2008 UK Open. That's popping up a lot, boys. Or Painters
Which
players.
one was
Let's
that?
have a look.
I mean, Ando's
Gary
2018
Anderson,
UK Open
2018
was,
UK.
yeah, that was pretty pony. Taylor's 11 match play. Mark Hilton, Wayne Jones, Wes Newton, who was pony by then, Andy Hamilton, and James Wade.
No, that's steady enough.
No,
Newton Hammer Wade.
Come on now.
Newton Hammer Wade back then. Newton Hammer Wade back then is a tough draw.
Well, to be fair,
09
James
then,
Wade
maybe?
is right up.
yeah, 09 maybe. Thorne, Painter, Lewis, Merv, and Jenkins
No, that's steady enough.
in 09. Nah, in 09,
Yeah.
Lewis wasn't to the point where he was. Merv had just come over from the BDO, and Jenkins
after
was
being
Jenkins.
world finalist and Winmar World Master was Merv. Jenkins was very, very difficult to beat until you put him in a final.
I don't know. I'd say that's a pretty steady draw.
James Wade UK Open is up there. Justin Pipe, not the best.
God.
Steve Brown,
Yeah.
Ronnie Baxter, Alan Tabern, Vincent van der Voort, and Gary Mawson in the final.
Oh, God. Oh. That is a stinker. Barney UK. He had to play
Barney
Taylor.
07's just popping up as well. Yeah, any run that includes Taylor is not easy. Sorry. If you have to be the greatest dart player of all time to win anything, world of trouble.
You mean the second greatest?
Yeah. Oh, May says that's a good one. Kevin Painter's Players Championship.
Yeah. No, Barney had to play Taylor, to be fair. Barney had to play Taylor in the quarterfinal and absolutely demolished him 11-4.
Let's have a look at Kevin
Is he
Painter's
active?
Players Championships.
Was that 2010? I think it was. Let's have a look at this. Back at the tavern. Oh no, that was 2010. Sorry, was Nico. it was. Okay. So we had
Colin Osborne,
where
Gary
are
Anderson, Merv King, Scott Rand, and Mark Webster in the final.
Yeah, but Gary at that point, Gary was a world finalist by then. It's not on the same level as Wadey in 08. That's probably got to be at least up there.
Only on the doubles, but his scoring power was enough for Gando. Let's not go that. Right,
Yeah.
shall we?
Let's move on from that. Stephen says, will there be a PDC Ladies Series this year? Yes, 100%.
Yes.
I think there'll be 2 weekends this year instead of 1. And it'll be good as well. Because it was last year. Raven Effect says, I miss Scott Rand. I think you're the only person that's ever said that, apart from his own mum and dad.
Oh, good Lord. Another one that came up was Wadey in the 18 Euros, which I'm just having a quick look at now. Who did he have to go through?
I was
Let's have a
there.
look
That was
at
one of
this.
the worst final days ever. Honestly, that final still gives me nightmares.
Schindler, Ricky Evans, Gezi, Max Hopp, and then Simon Whitlock. Yeah, I mean, it's up there. It's up there, but for me, I'm still going with the 08 UK Open. That's for me.
I know Mace is in the chat room. Do you remember Dortmund that year? It was when Smirnoff met Jack.
Oh dear.
Oh, good lord.
Raven Effects says, can we get Scott Rand and Mark Hilton in the Modus Live League, please? Mark Hilton, interestingly, was the first player I ever saw in exhibition. I played against him at 17 years old. Lost 2-1 or 3-2. Didn't have a clue who he was. I'll be completely honest at that point. His cards used to come with Ian White on the back because they used to do a lot of exhibitions together, but we just had Mark Hilton.
Always Elvis says, is Barry Bates okay? Yeah, I answered it earlier, mate. His arthritis played up halfway through the day, but he's had some painkillers and he's good, mate. It was just his arthritis played up. Mason, horrendous. Laugh out loud. Yeah, if you'd have been there, oh, honestly, you've never seen anything like it. What else have we got coming in then, guys? Give us some good ones.
Loads of people asking about the Euro Tour as well, Philip. What he thinks as well. You've been speaking to the guys over at the Euro Tour. What do we expect this year on said tour? Speaking
to the guys from the Euro Tour, obviously, look, we don't know what's going on over there at the moment because they can't get vaccines and they're all falling out of each other about who's going to supply them. But they were hoping after the match play to get 6 or 7 Euro Tours in before the European Championship finals was their plan. Still think it's doable. So fingers crossed that will be up there. If they can get 6 or 7 Euro Tours in the current climate, they've done really, really well.
Best 9 data of all time.
Best 9 of all time.
That's a great question.
For me, just because how ridiculously easy he made it look, Adrian Lewis against Barney at the Worlds. Because it was just
with
the most...
with the Crofty line, he, like Dick Turpin, he stood and delivered. He promised us a 9. That was fantastic. Just because he made it look absolutely effortless. It was so that would be mine, just because how brilliant it was. Dolan, Dolan's a great shout. Obviously, the first of that one. Taylor, when he went 1 and 2 on the same night.
Mason says John Lowe's, yeah. Again? So if ever remembers Dean Winstanley running 400 metres after he hit it.
Yeah. What's up, Joe?
I was going to say, Bazzi, which one did you say? Because I lost you then for a second. Which one did you go with?
Mine was Adrian Lewis against Barney, where he just made it look like he was just shelling peas at home.
No, that's a fair point. I think... For me, it was MVG's one in the World Championships back in 2013, and it would have been even more amazing if it had hit that double 12.
Yeah.
The second one straight away. That was
the
difficult.
answer to this question would have been easy had Paul Lim not missed double 12 against Gary Anderson.
I was in the room that night. I can't tell you what the room was like. It was like a balloon had just been popped when he missed the double 12. Honestly,
someone said it in the chat room. And if it had been televised, then yes, it would have been Mensur Sunovic's 167, 167, 167. But the fact it wasn't televised, I can't put it in there. If it was been televised, nothing beats that. That's the perfect 9.
Yeah. Owen asks the most painful...
Yeah, both of them were.
Yeah. Owen asks the most painful moment to watch. He says, for me, it'd be Wright missing those darts to beat MVG in the Premier League in 2017. Easy one for me, this. Van Gogh missing the double 18 back in 2014 for what would have been a record average of 133 in the Premier League against Michael Smith. To see that double 18 missed at that point when he's averaging 134 is heartbreaking to see. He has to deal with eventually in just an average of 123, but to being at the point where he's nearly averaging 135, 140, and then he misses double 18, that is a heartbreaker. I just whenever that game is on, I automatically just switch off after he gets down to 36. I'm thinking he actually hits this. I don't want to remember it.
No, my most painful to watch was, or still is, Barry Van Peer at the Grand Slam. That was very, very tough to watch as a fan more than anything. So, yeah, Barry Van Peer at the Slam. And just to see him back playing on a stage again is nothing short of magnificent. So that would be mine.
I know your
last couple then, guys. Get them in.
What?
And we'll do the last couple.
What do you mean you know mine?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it?
Go on, then.
When Wade misses double 19 for the match at the 2012 World Championships. And then he goes and loses every single leg.
Yeah, mate, you're right.
I really found PDC darts by then. Yeah. Mine are all Kyle. Wade at the match play 7 apiece, lets that one slip 10-7. The European Championships, when he hits the 9 against Van Gerwen in the semi-final, he's one dart away from the Premier League at that moment. That one hurt because we've been talking about that a lot. But there was one where I can't remember where it was, what it was in, but he lost to Phill Taylor in a semi-final of a Euro Tour, and Phill had literally only played one Euro Tour all year that year, and Kyle should have had him, and he let it slip, and that one hurt. Because if he'd beaten him, I can't remember who was waiting in the final, but the way Kyle had played all weekend was superb, and he would have picked up a Euro Tour, and that would have elevated him even more. So, yeah, that Phill Taylor loss was up there.
Peter says, who will win the most majors this year, lads? Peter, you know you can't drop the M word. Barry doesn't allow it. They're all televised titles. Who do I think is going to win the most this year? I think they'll be shared around again like this year. Who do I think will win the most this year?
James Wade.
I think there could be a few of you on 2.
Yes.
And hear me out. There's a reason why I picked Wade. It's because he's already got one. He already has the only one.
Yeah. Give you that.
And a run at the players.
Chris says most underrated player outside the top 64.
Suter. Not even a debate.
No,
I don't know
Alan Suter is not underrated. That's the issue. He's not underrated. Everybody is fully aware how good he is. We've spent countless hours talking about him for the last 6 weeks.
Though, God. Casual fans, though, that's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah, the casual fans won't know anyone outside the top 64.
Fine. In which case, then, I'll go with Kieran Tian. I think he's class. On his day, he can turn it on, and he can go and reach events, and go and reach big TV. Can go and reach big TV events. Maybe win a Pro Tour title. I think he's class. I would say Keane Barry, but I don't think
outside the top 64. But they're not underrated either. They're former world champions between them. The one I've got in mind is
I can't do
current world number 67.
Really?
I don't disagree.
Jeff
Smith. I've got 2 that I can't. I've got 2 that I can't split. One of them is Richie Edhouse.
Yeah.
And the other is Big Bad Boris.
My hero.
Don't disagree there.
Boris needs a B game. Boris needs a B game.
Yes. Louis Williams as well. That's not a bad shout.
Liam Gallagher for me. Why not? Yes, the Oasis puns are back. Yes.
Yeah. To be fair, Liam Gallagher is right up there, but he's got to cast no shadow first.
He slid away after Q School.
Exactly, just slid away, and he's not
Martin
looking back in
Atkins,
anger.
Brackets Wigan. The brackets are
Whoa,
back.
whoa.
Martin Atkins, brackets Wigan.
Whoa. There's been a very public divorce, and anyone that followed Super Series knows that Bracket Wiggins has gone. It is just Martin Atkins now, guys. Brackets Wigan has gone. It's no more.
He'll still be Brackets Wigan to me, god damn it.
George says Peter Jakes. Peter Jakes is not a bad shout. He had a very, very good Super Series. Boris Koltsov is one we're talking about, Jonathan. Although Kirchmars is right up there as well. You're not a soft tip finalist for nothing. Where else do we go? Shall we go? What are your thoughts on Damon Heta as a whole? Solid.
Good.
The next James Wade. With a better scoring. I think his doubling when he's on is ridiculous.
For me, he'll end up somewhere between 24 and 16. If he can have a couple of good TV runs, he can go into that top 16, but comfortably somewhere between 16 and 24. For me.
Reese says top 3 commentators / pundits of all time. I don't think we could disagree on the majority of the top 3, although whether Rodney Studd is up there yet is a question. Number 1, there is no other that can compare to the Great Sydney. That's a fact, and anybody who says otherwise is wrong. 2, I want to say Gwinney. I think he's absolutely majestic with the English language. And number 3, this is my number. Yeah, I'd have Gwinney over Lanning. And this is where I don't know yet, because I loved Lanning because purely for the reaction to the 9-darter for Taylor, the second one, when Sid goes, Dave Lanning say it, because I'm gobsmacked. And then he goes, you have moment of greatest sporting history, certainly in darts. 2 9-darters in one night for Phill Taylor. Tell your grandchildren about this. And you just think, how does he come up with it? But I don't know whether Rodney now gets up to that level. I just don't know, is the honest answer. But the top 2 for me are Sid and Gwinney. And I can't split it between Lano and Rodney.
I can't put anyone that is still commentating currently in a top 3 of all time. You only get that accolade once you have finished.
Fair enough.
So Sid, Dave, and John for that reason.
Yeah, they are the trifecta, if you like.
I mean, Macy's. I'm not saying this because he's in the chat room. Macy's excellent, but I think even to be fair, he's even in the chat room saying now that he's even agreeing that it is that those are the top 3. Look, I think Rodney will be in that great category. I think he is there. I just don't know whether I can just put him over Lano yet.
Where was it? Peter Wright says, thoughts on Gary Anderson, legend. Spoke to him today. Can't wait to go for Wagamamas again.
Yeah, right. There was another one.
He sent me a nice picture.
Should they make some too fake that? Should they make the trebles and the doubles smaller? From Tommy. No.
Right. I'll tell you what. Just for a laugh, I would love to see a tournament on those trainer boards, just to see.
I think you'd get bored very, very quickly. The novelty of it would wear off. We are so used to the current standard and level that anything less than that would be perceived as poor or not well received. And they haven't, look, the dimensions have changed a little bit since 25 years ago, but that's because the wires have got thinner and the staples aren't there anymore. There is genuinely more room in the segment. The board as a size hasn't really changed.
Yeah, it's just the wires.
So the amount of metal laid on top of it
has.
Yeah.
the target,
And
the target area becomes bigger.
The whole unicorn treble 20 segment is bigger than other brands has been debunked as a massive myth. It's actually the opposite.
Superb, everyone. Right, one more. Pick one more, guys, and then we're going to wrap today up. We've almost been going for 2 hours again. We massively appreciate you all spending your time with us on a Monday, so we will do one more. To be fair, while we're talking about boards, let's do this one. Tournament on a quadro board.
Yes, please.
Yorkie board for me.
I'd like that.
Yorkie board.
Yeah, I'd like to see the quadro board like back in the day. I think it'd be decent, to be fair.
Double board for me. Like to see a double board.
You mean the Yorkshire board?
The Yorkie board, absolutely right. Yorkie board.
I remember Dennis Priestley first played on a treble board. He's like, what are they? Right, everyone, we've nearly waffled for 2 hours, and I must say a huge thank you to everyone who has participated in the show today. The chat room has been absolutely on fire tonight. Reese, will there be a live lounge next Monday? No, because of the Premier League. However,
no. Whoa, Barzy.
Have I missed
next Monday? Yes, next Monday is the big Premier League preview.
Yes. Premier League preview next Monday, but Premier League on the Monday when it starts, we will probably look to do one on the Sunday evening, guys, because you guys deserve it. We can't have a week off of the live lounge. It just wouldn't be prim or proper. Cheers, Peter. Thank you very much. Cheers, everyone in the chat room that's saying great show. And it's you guys that make it a great show.
I was just going to say, and the added bonus of it being on the Sunday, on Easter Sunday, is that you'll see me after having a few bebs. What more could you want on a Sunday night?
So get your Barney questions in. Jeez, no thanks, not again.
Oh my!
Again.
Oh my goodness.
Dave, thank you very, very much. And like I said, everyone, you have been outstanding in the chat room. We massively appreciate your continued support. We wouldn't be doing it without you. Remember, the live league returns in the morning, 9:30. The first game is on. We cannot wait for that, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a safe Monday, and we will see you all very, very soon. I've been Phill Bars, Jack Gobbygar with Jarleth Eaton. Good night, everyone.
Take it to the next level.